Ross Thomson.
I'm glad to be so warmly welcomed. Mr. Speaker, before I get into my speech, I just want to touch on one thing. The language in this debate round about Scotland versus the Tories, us being anti-Scottish, does not help to heal the divisions that we have in Scotland. It's because of this kind of rhetoric that my office regulates targeted by vandals. And even a couple of weeks ago, someone who's not my constituent was arrested because they were intimidating my staff. I would really urge those on other benches opposite to mind their language. Mr. Speaker, the fundamental argument of the SNP is based on an untruth that there is a power grab. So let us be absolutely clear that none of these powers are currently exercised by the Scottish Parliament nor the UK Parliament. They're exercised by the European Union when we ceded that sovereignty to them. The only reason that the Scottish Parliament will be receiving any additional powers is because we are leaving that European Union, and that is something which the SNP has vehemently opposed to the point where they're threatening another referendum in order to hold and send those powers back. Mr. Speaker, the SNP don't want these powers. They don't want a single one of them, and they're doing everything imaginable to keep those powers in Brussels. So let's look at the reality of what we're actually dealing with, which is a massive SNP power giveaway to Brussels. Because the benches opposite argue that these new Brexit powers constitute a power grab. But when it comes to those benches, Mr. Speaker, we know that they won't let facts get in the way of great political rhetoric or for Twitter. In fact, I was amazed that the member for Ross Skye and Lochaber was able to tweet while speaking. That's a great gift, one that I wish I could also adopt. There is no power grab. There is no power grab, which is why the SNP cannot answer the simplest of questions, which is which power that the Scottish Parliament currently exercises will it have taken away? Mr. Speaker, the answer is none. In fact, Mr. Speaker, as Clause 15 of the Withdrawal Bill makes clear, these powers are returning from Brussels and will pass by default to Holyrood, as well as they will Cardiff Bay and Stormont. In a number of areas, with agreement of the Scottish Government, there may, and that's the operative word here, may temporarily be frozen existing frameworks as they are handed down from Brussels with both governments so they can work together on common-wide frameworks to ensure a short-term stability. Now, the UK Government agreed to the SNP Government's request for a sunset clause, meaning that any of those freezes will be strictly temporary and last for 5 years maximum before the area is devolved. This will not be a permanent part of the devolution settlement. So to be crystal clear, Mr. Speaker, over 80 new powers will go immediately to Holyrood, while in 24 areas the UK Government will maintain the existing EU arrangement protecting the integrity of the UK internal market. It is due to the UK Government flipping around Clause 11 into Clause 15 and making significant concessions that the Labour Welsh Government were able to sign up to the deal offered as being fair, respecting devolution and protecting the UK internal market. The deal was reasonable and met the SNP's own test. Now, we understand that Mike Russell was ready to sign up but was overruled by Nicola Sturgeon. And we understand that is because she wants to put the interests of the nationalists ahead of the interests of the nation. Now, the SNP have seized on the failure to reach agreement and have called on the Secretary of State to resign in what is one of the most incredibly personal speeches I have ever heard. But, Mr. Speaker, this is not new, because on the 20th of May, the SNP press release went out saying Mundell must go. On the 21st of May, it said Mundell must go. On the 6th of June, it said Mundell must step aside. On the 13th of June, it said time for Sean Mundell to go. On the 14th of June, it said Mundell must go. Mr. Speaker, this is an SNP broken record. It is a childish contribution, and there are two governments. Two people worked on this, and in fact, the person who refused agreement, couldn't reach agreement, is Mike Russell. Perhaps he should consider his position. And, Mr. Speaker, to finish up, given I've got only 20 seconds left, the people of Scotland are watching, and they see through the SNP stunts, and they simply see them as standing in the way of the national interest as part of their desire and reason for a second independence referendum.